Welcome to Inside Startup Investing, the only podcast where you can invest in every guest. On this episode, I will be speaking with the co-founder and CEO of Cairnspring Mills, Kevin Morse. As a reminder, if you like what you hear on today's episode, you can actually invest in Cairnspring Mills on WeFunder, regardless of whether or not you are accredited, with a minimum investment of $100 until December 4th, 2025. If you open up your pantry at home, almost guaranteed you have a bag of flour sitting there. And if you're a baker, you either have an empty bag and need to run to the store, or you have an unreal inventory ready to go for that next loaf of bread, that next cake, or even that next wood-fired pizza. Cairnspring Mills set out many years ago to create the premium craft flour category that is better for farmers, chefs, bakers, and yes, your body. You see, many of the industrial flour milling processes of today focus on extracting nearly all nutritional value and flavor from your flour that you eat in order to create the most shelf-stable product possible. But in doing so, they have required a cheaper, lower profit grain to be produced by farmers, leading to a lower quality product for bakers and chefs to work with, and ultimately that trickles down into the food that we eat every day. Cairnspring Mills is building a better product by focusing on higher quality and higher profit grains for farmers. Their milling process focuses on flavor and retaining the nutritional value of the grains to create a better tasting and better for you product. And in doing so, they've built a business that has won over some of the best chefs across the country. While yes, this is a company that is doing good, what's most impressive is they are doing really well too. Just think about the fact that they have grown from $5.1 million in 2023 revenues to $6.4 million last year and are already pacing for $7.9 million this year in revenue. And why are they raising? Because it's time to scale capacity to meet demand, which means building a dramatically larger facility with long-term plans to build several regional stone milling centers across the country in the years to come. Put simply, the Cairnspring Mills team is building a wholly new craft category of flour that is outpacing the flour market in terms of growth and is leading the charge with some of the best names across the food industry buying into their quality ingredients. To me, this is one of the most interesting and quality ingredient manufacturers I have met in my 8 years of running Kingscrowd, and I truly think there is a strong argument to be made for investing in this growth story. Now is your turn to listen in and decide if now is the time to invest in Cairnspring Mills via WeFunder. With that, let's welcome Kevin to the show. Kevin, thanks so much for being here today.
Chris, it's great to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure. For those who don't know you, Kevin, give us a little bit of background on yourself and what Cairnspring Mills is all about.
Sure. Well, my name's Kevin Morse. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Cairnspring Mills. The company has been running now, going on almost 11 years since I quit my last job and stopped farming to launch the mill. Just a little bit of background, Chris, if that's what you're looking for. Prior to starting the mill, I spent about 35 years combined in working lands conservation, where I spent a decade with the Nature Conservancy, working with farmers and farm bills and aligning conservation and food production. I farmed for 12 years. I also worked in rural economic development for roughly 15 years, primarily focused on revitalizing and rebuilding natural resource economies, both here in the Northwest and for a short time on the eastern shore of Maryland.
Well, you certainly sound like the right guy to be running this business now with all of your background. So how did Cairnspring Mills come together? And for those who don't know it, what are you guys all about?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Cairnspring Mills, um, I still think we are the first regionally scaled craft flour mill in the United States. Um, we started again about 11 years ago, and this business was a pretty unconventional business startup. It wasn't hatched or born in a boardroom. or a analyst's office. It was born out of the Skagit Valley community's interest in making sure that we had a viable agricultural economy for another 100 or 120 years. It was born out of our commitment and interest in clean food and healthy soils and the environment, and making our community more healthy, prosperous, and resilient. And the opportunity came about because we have been growing wheat and other cereal grains here for about 120 years, mostly at a loss. It's been a rotation crop to break disease cycles, add organic matter back to the soil, and the farmers they joke around they um, they made money on grain in 1918 and then one other year after that. And so they were really looking for a way to add value and keep that value here. So we are the first regionally scaled craft mill. And I guess it might be helpful to explain what that means in that it's a big difference from an industrial mill. So we're trying to do with flour, what like Blue Bottle did for coffee and Dogfish did for beer, and create this flat craft flour segment that's premium. And we do that by several ways. We do not source commodity grains. So we go directly to the farmers who are all using regenerative practices that improve soil health and protect environmental quality. And we select grains not just for protein, like most of the grains are sourced for in the commodity system, but for milling quality, baking quality, and things like flavor, which isn't a target in the big mills. Other ways we differentiate, we have a very unique modern stone milling system that we brought over from Europe and have modified and designed to make a flour that still acts and behaves like most flours or what people have been used to, but has more of the natural flavor, nutrition, and color left in it. So what our customers, both retail and consumer, are sharing is that they've never experienced their breads tasting so good, smelling so good, coming out with these beautiful caramelized colors. And then we're also not just stone milling it, we're stone milling it fresh. And the customers are normally getting our product within 30 days after milling and using it more like a fresh product and reordering consistently over time. So they're always getting a fresher, more flavorful product. And so that's how we're different, and that's what a regional craft mill is in fairly short course.
What is the stone milling process, and how does that vary from a traditional, kind of scaled up process?
So stone milling, there's two very different processes. Industrial mills use what's primarily called a roller mill, which is a really great, efficient piece of machinery that was brought over here it was invented in Hungary in the late 1800s, early 1900s, which enabled you to process flour and grains at a very fast pace compared to stone milling. And it's basically two steel rollers that are set microns apart, spinning at different speeds. And so imagine a wheat berry getting caught in there, and it's just kind of shaving it down and breaking it down into really coarse parts. And what they do is send grain and that flour through those roller mills multiple times. I've seen flow charts where it could be going through the system 20 to 30 times to be refined into a very, very fine white flour, which has all of the bran and the germ removed. And unfortunately, the bran and the germ is where all of the flavor, vitamins, minerals, and oils are located. And so what that white flour is just pure carbohydrates. And that's actually why we have enriched flour today, is because after eating whole grains for um, most of our civilization's experience, got switched to white flour and people were getting sick, and it's led to ailments both here and now and in the past. So stone milling is different. You have a set stone and a runner stone. Grain is dropping down through the middle of it, and then it's being basically cut and pulverized under pressure as it travels across the face of that 3 or 4 foot stone. And the way we modify the system in the sifts is to make sure whole grain flour is coming into our stones. And then instead of a process like the industrial mills where you're sifting off that bran and the germ, we're actually milling it into the end product. And that's how we get a more flavorful and naturally nutritious flour, by keeping those elements in and then sifting some off at the end, which is really fashioned after European style bread flours, which we don't have in this country.
I think when a lot of people hear regional, the mind goes to thinking small.
Yeah,
And that's certainly, I don't think, the case with what you're building here. You know, on pace, I think, for almost 7 million in revenue this year, been growing really rapidly, and have plans to get a good deal substantially larger than where you are now.
right.
So talk to me about, one, what does regional mean to you? And also just about, your general ambitions of where you want to take this.
Sure. Great question. So regional, maybe we should start with some scales to give people reference, Chris. What do you think? So let's talk about a big mill real quick. The biggest mills in this country make 7 million pounds of flour in a day. They source grains from all over the country, all over the world. It's mass production, massive output, lowest price grain possible, low margin flour out. That's how they work. Um, when we say regional, it's primarily based on how we source and quantity. So our mill here in the Skagit Valley made 7 million pounds all of last year,
Hmm.
right? Running 5 days a week, 2 shifts a day, and 2 shifts on the weekend. And when we talk about regional milling, we're still at a scale which I describe as a human scale. We walk every farm, we write every contract direct with the grower, and we're also sourcing regionally to manage risk and quality, so that we have the consistency that the customer demands and wants, and fulfills our value proposition of a higher quality, consistent product. And so it's both how we source, and then the capacity throughput of the mill, and then at the scale we work at, and keeping our soul and how we started, and not changing that.
Now, 7 million pounds, what you made all of last year, you talk about expanding to 110 million pounds per year, which is a
Correct.
very substantial increase from where you are today. How do you get there? What is it going to take to build that new mill functionality?
Yeah, great question. So the good news is we're being pulled there by demand. We reached our max capacity 2 years ago, and we have pent up demand. And we also have learned some great lessons over the past almost 9 years of operations about how to create efficiencies and scale our current unique system. And so we're basically taking what we have now, improving upon it, building a bigger mill. And even though 110 million pounds might sound a lot, remember that's about what one big mill can make in 2 weeks. And so it is a much larger capital investment. Um, and we're locating in Pendleton, Oregon, in partnership with the Umatilla Tribe, right in the middle of wheat country. And we already have enough farmers in our supply chain to fill the mill 3 times over. So,
Wow.
yeah, so the supply is there. Generally, in this industry, you hear people talking about the missing middle, right? Or the messy middle infrastructure. That's us. It's the bottleneck to the market for smaller, high quality craft producers and farmers that are out there. And I'm trying to rebrand it, Chris, and call us the remarkable middle,
Hmm.
because of the level of attention and detail we apply to our contracts with our farmers, their practices, and the quality from the field through the mill and into the bag. And I think it's showing up in the marketplace and the consumer's response. Growing 40% year over year, several years in a row, just was beyond our expectations. But it's really the result of staying true to those core values and the processes we've developed, and providing the more quality, unique product that they're looking for.
At the very basic level, you're providing a premium category of, flour products, right? And it sounds like the farmers can supply enough to triple from the 110 million to almost 330 million pounds. When you think about where you're going, are you going to continue to make the investments to get there, to go from 7 million to 110 to 330? How long does that take? What type of investment does that take? And can the market support that?
Yeah, great question. So from the beginning, our vision was to build a network, distributed network of regional mills in important farming locations and markets around the country. So here's how we're different. Instead of taking the mill in Umatilla when we get to max capacity and saying, okay, we're going to do that 10 times as big. We're going to want to build a mill, in another market, whether it's California or the Midwest or the Mid-Atlantic, and do our expansion there. That provides resilience in our supply chain and also allows us to do things the big mills don't do by celebrating local grains that are grown in those specific regions. And so we have very, very aggressive plans to grow like up to 5 more mills in the next 5 years. So that
Oh, wow.
doesn't sound big. I mean, people are like, oh, our goal is to build a profitable business that provides a return for our investors, but also to partner and inspire other communities and partners to work with us and to keep value in those communities and not extract it. So when we talk about other mills, I mean, the CapEx on these mills can be roughly $40 million for the mill and the granary. It's not insignificant. But again, it's still not at the scale of those big mills. And it's feasible, which is great. And so we're finding real traction now with the investment community at that size and scale. And when you look at the $23 billion flour market and craft flour maybe being 700 million of that right now, there's a tremendous opportunity for us to grow as well as others.
Now, I love your angle of, taking care of farmers, working with local ingredients, making this a more local product, a more sustainable product. All of that is wonderful. When you think about return for investor, as you mentioned, often companies provide a return via exit to a larger corporation. In this case, it sounds like that might not be something that fits strategically with your vision, right? Because you care about kind of doing the right things, and those bigger companies don't necessarily want to deal with that. So how do you think about exit for this business?
Great question. So and we've had plenty of discussions around this and also some interesting discovery. So I guess as the CEO of the company, I should never say never about a corporate acquisition. What we've discovered though is there's other potential investors that could be more value aligned and still bring resources, and they're not necessarily big equity funds, but they're family offices. The offices of high net worth individuals who we're finding, and we have a number now investing in the mill, who are value aligned, would stick with the core principles. They want to have ownership in assets that provide a return and also gives them the ability to invest more money in for their specific needs and reasons, whether it's for tax reasons or to grow the business or whatever. And we're finding that that could be a very value aligned exit partner. We've also talked to several companies who we work with now who would just like to continue to make us part of their supply chain, but also do things like go vertical and create other CPG products or value added products that they could carry under their brand. And so those are certainly real opportunities that have already come across our radar. We've already walked away from one potential purchase years ago. And so we are dead set on building a company that endures. We're not a venture ready, build it in 3 years, get a 10x return and walk away. That's not in our DNA.
Those mills are very expensive, to your point. Sometimes, investors coming in through things like Reg CF, their biggest concern can be like, hey, my small dollar sum is not going to get you where you need to be, right? It sounds like you need to raise exorbitantly larger amounts of capital. Now, you talk about family offices, they certainly can write, $10, $20 million checks. Certainly, they can play a big role. But is this also a debt financing exercise? And if so, do you have any, kind of thoughts or parameters you could share with us around that?
Yeah, definitely. The future mills, we're hoping we can refinance primarily and not, necessarily have to raise too much more equity. That would be the optimal condition. I think we would certainly want to give our investors who want an exit an opportunity where we could do a secondary sale to a family office or even one of the other current investors. And I would say, part of our vision from the beginning, Chris, was to have people in our community benefit and gain value from it. And so, as much as we love our large investors who are writing multi-million dollar checks, one of the reasons we did crowdfunding was to actually give our community who has been so supportive of us. I mean, we didn't have sales and marketing budgets until year 5 of operations. It's been a community of bakers, chefs, neighbors, friends who have lifted us up, and we see this as a way for them to actually obtain some value in the company and hopefully a nice return down the road. So I don't know if that answers your question
Oh,
directly,
it,
but
it certainly does.
yeah, great.
We've talked a lot about the supply side of this business and how you're going to, manage being able to create more supply and work with all of these farmers. On the demand side, you have had such tremendous growth recently. What have been the drivers of growth, and what is kind of the sales strategy to get on more shelves and to sell more product?
Yeah, well, the drivers of growth up to this point really um, have been influencers. The community from since we opened the door, we had local mills using our flour, talking about us on social media. We had some famous uh, pizzaolos, bakers, chefs like Chris Bianco, Chad Robertson from Tartine, and others. And that really lifted us up. And our strategy, because 80% of our sales is food service. We're an omni-channel company, but that's still the bulk of our business, has really been to get the customer's hands in the dough and get them to taste it. And we've done that several ways through immersion tours at the mill where we bring customers in. They get to go see farms, the bread lab, do bake tests. And we also show up at their house with bags of flour, with technical support, and just be supportive and tell them our story. And the story of the mill, the Skagit Valley, the quality of the flour has been a great recipe for success. Moving forward, we're going to continue to do more of that, working with our distributors to reach a larger market share. And with the operating leverage and the unit economics of the new mill, we'll have the ability to have some more attractive pricing to large companies to do offtake agreements for um, for bulk flour. We're already talking to several that could fill almost 50% of the new mill's capacity, just to give you an
Huh.
idea. And we really haven't been out selling that too hard until, sorry, we broke ground this fall. And now moving forward, we're building a national sales team. Might sound huge, but we'll probably have a regional rep, East Coast, middle of the country, West Coast, and also work with some of the CPG companies that are in the funnel to see if we can be large suppliers of co-branded product for them because they also now see value in what we're doing and want to be attached to that and make that part of their brand.
Hmm. Couple of items there from things that you mentioned. First off, do you see an opportunity to grow your presence on kind of grocery store shelves, and is that part of your overall growth strategy?
Oh yeah, great question. So we are going to have an omni-channel strategy where we're going to stay in the grocery stores we're in now, and if there's chains like Sprouts or Whole Foods or others who we've been touching base with on a limited basis so far, that's certainly a potential. Where we're going to put a lot of time and energy is into continuing to grow in the bulk food service, but direct to consumer is where we're projecting more growth in the retail sales. And so that's we're going to have a fairly big initiative around that.
And then in terms of co-branded, Can you just explain a little bit more about exactly what that would look like?
Well, what's the best analogy? Probably like Intel Inside. Milled by Cairnspring, sourced from Cairnspring. They can tell the story about our mill and our farmers. So it could be in the marketing materials and the packaging for some of the companies. Some
Understood.
companies might just want us to make their flour and they don't co-brand, and that's fine if their checks don't bounce and the profit margin's right. So all of those are on the table right now for sure.
I'll give you the last word here. For those folks who are on the line, they're thinking about investing, they're not there yet. What do you want them to know?
We are market leaders and on the cusp of building this brand new craft flour category, which has tremendous growth opportunity. I think we're one of the first in the country to pioneer operating a mill at this scale and making it profitable with a good return for investors. Right now projected IRR is upper 20s into 30s. We have the team that can execute. We have more demand from farmers right now calling us wanting to sell flour, sell their grain to us, as well as other communities who are inviting us in to partner with them and be co-owners in the strategic locations. So I think our strategy is sound. I think the opportunity is real. And I think we have the ability to move at a pace and scale that would be hard for someone just getting into this. As a matter of fact, that's what one of the folks said to me when we had a call last week. We don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. We would rather partner with you and take everything you've learned here and apply it to our community. And that's really the key is replicating what we have and building these relationships. We're a relationship-based company, not strictly a transactional one, and we've got the relationships to get us on the ground in new places as we grow.
If you liked what you heard on the show today, you can check out why Cairnspring Mills scored a 3.8 out of 5 on Kingscrowd's proprietary rating scale at kingscrowd.com. You can also invest on WeFunder until December 4th with a minimum investment of $100. And as always, if you like what you heard on the show today, please like, subscribe, and share our podcast wherever you listen so more investors like you can find us. Thanks for tuning in and happy